Hi, I'm Deidra Craig, and this is my EAC 580 instructional design interview. And that's Kathy, or Kathy Dunnigan Phillips, lead instructional designer for the North Carolina State University Distance Education Learning Technology Applications with Instructional Innovation Services. Whew, that was a mouthful. For the sake of time, though, let's just keep it simple and call them Delta. I'm sure you're wondering who the heck is Kathy. Well, here's a little history. Before working for Delta, Kathy earned her bachelor's degree in the fine arts. Cool, huh? But that's not all. She thought it would be even cooler to go back to school and earn a master's degree in instructional technology from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Aw, look at that mascot. Isn't he so cute? But between you and I'm more partial to these guys. Hey, I know I'm going fast, but you need to keep up. Check out this timeline to keep you on track. I can't go into all the details, so let's just fast forward a bit to how I landed an interview with this totally cool, the most awesomest ID ever. So, how in the world did I get all this information on her? Well, let's just say I get by with a little help from my friends. Or Dr. Donner Petherbridge, who recommended I reach out to Kathy for an ID interview. A few emails later, and we're talking instructional design over coffee and muffins at the Hunt Library. She's cool peoples, so she let me auto-record our chat as well. Aside from the required interview questions for this project, I specifically wanted to ask questions to Kathy related to ID in higher education settings, and a bit about social media use. Both are areas I'm highly interested in and hope to do in the future. So this interview would not be nearly as interesting without a little drama, huh? So let's talk a bit about a few of the ID issues, challenges, and theory and practice that came about during my interview. Towards the end of Kathy's time at the Savannah College of Art and Design, otherwise known as SCAD, she mentions that during that time, e-learning was becoming more popular amongst universities. She wanted to explore all the aspects of this area of higher education, but unfortunately, SCAD wasn't really doing this at the time. So, as you can see, with new technology, innovation, and rapid changes in ID, there is the need for ID to go where their creative juices can flow freely. For Kathy, that meant moving back to NC and being part of the innovation initiatives that were taking place with NCSU's Delta team. So, what's the issue exactly there? Well, oftentimes, and with any discipline, ID included, creativity is the foundation of your work. When this is put to a halt or doesn't quite align with company values, IDs must make the difficult choice to stay and do things the old way or leave in search of other opportunities. And ID, it's not just about problem solving. Sometimes a great ID will be able to mesh problem solving and creativity together. In the article, The Critical Relational Practice of Instructional Design in Higher Education, an Emergent Model of Change Agency, Campbell, Schweier, and Kenny write, in every case, institutional change agency is a tug of war between values and cultures. And in this type of agency, probably more than any other, the interactions are moderated by an overlay of power relationships. Who has authority to make change and how change is negotiated is at the heart of institutional agencies. Kathy and I chatted a lot about project management, which we both agree is not the most fun part of ID, but a necessary skill set for the field. At Delta, Kathy takes on the role of lead instructional designer and project lead. This is a huge job with so many responsibilities, which include but are not limited to facilitating team meetings, working with media specialists and coordinators and subject matter experts and other instructional designers, utilizing project management skills and software and creating content evaluation, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Whew, this lady is very busy, huh? So again, you ask, what could possibly be the challenge with project management? And what about theory and practice? Well, that's a little question that I'm certainly happy to answer. Sometimes an ID project takes a village. No, not that type of village, this type of village. Managing all these tasks may require more than one person to get the job done. Project management skills are a must to produce content for clients. Get it to them on time so that the company is not wasting valuable money. What about theory and practice? Kathy uses the ADDIE model, but makes note that the use of the ADDIE model varies from project to project. Sometimes she mixes in ADDIE with iterative design, further proving that there is no set way to approach every project on the job. With models like ADDIE and SAM, there is still no guarantee a project will go according to plan. Why, you ask? Because every project is different. Therefore, workflow will vary from project to project. And even with a detailed plan in place, models like Addie and Sam may not always be used in certain phases of the instructional design process, if at all. Veering from the ISD models is a possibility because one will never know what to expect when tasked with a project. And simply put, all projects are created differently. Lesson learned, Addie model is just one small moving part in a much bigger picture. So why iterative design, you say? Because let's be honest, in the great words of Williams Van Ruhe, Addie is not enough. Let's face it, guys, Addie doesn't work for everything. There are gaps with the model. And if there weren't, people like Kathy wouldn't be using iterative design to make projects actually happen. Of course, as we've learned from this class and from our required reading, A Hard Look at ISD by Ron Zemke and Allison Rossett, some people like Addie and others, well, they can live without it. Okay, I have one last thing I'd like to bring up, and that's communication. Based off of the info I've already given you, you should have already picked up that Kathy is a busy lady and works with tons of people regularly on projects. Subject matter experts, or as we like to call them, SMEs, are one of the key stakeholders for any ID project. These are the people that give IDs the knowledge they need to get the job done. Because let's face it, we don't know everything now, do we? Working with SMEs is not so much an issue as it is a challenge. Speaking of challenges, Kathy mentions that while her background is not in education, learning how best to communicate with faculty who have reservations and hesitation about redesigning a course was a skill set she picked up along the way. It's a challenge because, think about it, let's pretend you're a faculty member, new to technology, having never been involved in a large course redesign, and you have some ID telling you they're going to pick your brain for content knowledge and your area of expertise to only take your online course and probably your life's work, rip it apart, and then build it from the ground up. If that's not a challenge, I don't know what is. Communication is key, and building a relationship with SMEs will make communication much easier. SMEs must gain an ID's trust, learn their comfort levels, and be able to communicate with them every step of the way in such projects as recourse design. This can only be done with, you said it, baby, effective communication. So, some key takeaways I took from the interview is ID is hard. In addition to building relationships, leading teams, multitasking, project management, media knowledge, and staying up to date with ID processes and innovative technology, I've got my hands full once I dive into the field of higher educational instructional design. But I'm up for the challenge. So here's my impression of how ID work is applied in the field. I had no clue what to expect. Kathy really did put things in perspective when explaining all the different things she manages and all the teams she works with on a daily basis. And while I did know instructional design incorporates elements of communication, it's far more than I thought possible. At least from Kathy's perspective, it seems to be. Communication is right down my alley, in fact. I have a BA in communications, so I suppose this is why I'm drawn to the field of ID. So here are my concerns. So this field weighs heavily on skills in project management. This is an area that I'm not properly trained in and could afford to take a class or two. In fact, it's so much project management oriented, I wonder if it's a good fit for my personality, as I consider myself to be the exact opposite of someone who plans. One thing I find quite comforting with this concern in mind is that Kathy provided some awesome resources for sharpening the skill set and mentioned that as a lead designer, she has a special team that does all the project management for her. Hashtag her team is winning. Hopefully I'll get to that level one day. In the meantime, I'll probably just take some classes. So before I go, allow me to recap a few takeaways and key issues I learned about the profession. Number 1, follow your creativity, like Kathy did. Sometimes being an ID means not compromising your values or your creative ideas. Embrace change and seek out companies that embrace it too. Number 2, project management is a big deal. Learn the skill and become very good at it. Much of ID is about project management, managing tasks, analysis, evaluation, and making sure the client gets what they need on time to avoid high cost. Number 3, all models aren't created equal, meaning You may use Addie or Sam, but just be prepared for projects that don't fit that need. Remember, for many of Kathy's projects, she mixed Addie and iterative design to get the job done. Number 4, and last but not least, communication. IDs work with people all the time. Communication is a skill set you'll need to build relationships with team members and SMEs. Build an SME's trust and create those boundaries of power and respect, and the rest will follow. That's all, folks.